Hey everyone, welcome to Data Monk. Um, in today's video, we are going to solve some tricky questions that are often asked in your SQL interviews. So now that we have covered almost all the basics for our SQL, it's time that we bring them into practice. And for that, today we are going to solve a little tricky question. So this question has been asked in a lot of interviews. All they do is just, change the data set. So I don't want you to keep guessing what it is. So let us just see what we have in today's question. All right. So I have already created a table. Actually, we are given two tables. One table that we have is students, wherein we have student ID and name, and I have filled it with some test data. And then we have another table which is classes, which will show the student ID, class ID, and date. I'll just for show you the tables only, so that we have a clear idea of what we are given and what we are asked to solve. Alright, so I'll show you both the tables. I'm selecting all the rows from students and classes, right? So I'll run this and we have our tables. So we have the first table called students, which has student ID and the names, right? We have second table which has student class ID. Okay, this is particularly very important because this is going to help us solve our question. Then we have the student IDs, the one we had in the above table only, so we can treat this as our primary key. I hope you know what is a primary key. If not, please refer to the previous video. We have a full complete video on all types of keys in SQL. So after you have clear understanding of the keys, you can notice that we have this is a primary key. So we have student IDs and then we have class IDs. So we have like four class IDs, four types of classes which are going on, and different students attending different classes on different dates, right? So these are our two tables, students and classes. Now let us see what is asked in the question. So our question for today is, we need to write a query to find list of students who took classes more than once in the same day. So we need to find students who are taking more than one classes. Then we are supposed to group by student details and classes, and then we need to arrange that in recent class date to oldest class date. All right. So this might sound a little confusing in the beginning, but let's just go step by step and try to understand what has been asked and how we can solve it. All right. Okay. So just read the first half of the question, which is query to find list of students who took classes more than once in the same day. The first thing that should come into your mind is that I'll have to use joins here, because my student table is not sufficient to give me list of students who took classes on the same day. So for that I'll need class date also, class ID also. So we are going to join the table, that is for sure. Now we need to see who took more than one classes, right? So I'll just start writing the query for you, and side by side you can understand what we are trying to do. So select what all would I want in my new table. It would be student ID, of course. That is what we want, student ID. Then we'll have the name of the student also. Then we have the name of the student. Then we have class ID. Class ID we need to have, and then we have class date, of course, right? You can also choose the columns you want to display, but these are obviously some of the necessary columns, because that is how you will be able to see the students who took classes more than once in the same day, right? Now, because I need to count that how many students were there, and how many classes they took on a particular day. For that, as we need to count that, so I'll be using the count function. And what are we going to count? We are going to count the student class ID, obviously. Student class ID, because this will tell us, if you see, this is a student class ID which is unique, but this is tell us that if for student this particular ID gives me one here, then 6 also give me one here, then we have one at the ninth place also. So you can see, if I get the count of this, I can clearly find out that how many students took the class on the same day, because with corresponding to that we have the dates also. Alright, so I'm going to count the student class ID. Okay, and let us say we will give this alias name as count only, or wait, we can give this as okay, let's try count only. This shouldn't give us an error. I'm adding it in the brackets so that, because it's a function. Okay, after that I'm just going to write, we are selecting all this from our students, right? Let us give this the value that we get from this query as S, because to avoid confusion, if you see, we have student ID in both the columns, right? So we need to mention, if we are selecting student ID here, we need to mention that what student ID, from where I'm picking it. So for that I'll write S dot student ID here, and I would say that it's better that you mention for all of them to avoid any confusion, so that you know that you're picking the student ID from students, you're picking this name from students. So it's advisable that you give a smaller name to your table, a temporary name, and then you can assign that accordingly. So now what we are going to do is join our tables, right? I told you why we need to join, obviously. So we are going to use the normal join here, because uh, we are simply just using the left join here. If you're not aware of different types of join, please refer to the previous video. I would suggest that you see all the previous videos, because it is covering all the basics for you to solve these questions. So to have better understanding for all of them, it's better that you know, go through all those videos first and then come back to this video. So after that we are going to join our classes table, and again I'm going to give us a temporary name C to avoid any confusion. Now what are the bases that we are joining on? C dot student, as I said, it is our temp primary key here. So C dot student should be equal to S dot student ID, right? This could be the common basis for joining our tables. So here we have almost completed the first part of our query. So not exactly completed, but moving on, we just need to write a query which says that we need to group this by student details and classes. So simply you know, just break down your question and then start writing your query. So we'll add the condition at the end. All right. So I am going to, or maybe let me first complete this particular query only for you. So we need to find number of students who took classes more than once in the same day. So I've used the count function for that. I've seen how many student class ID are there. Then I have joined both the classes. What do you think will be the condition that we need to have, so that I get the list of students who have taken classes more than once? For that, I am going to use our having clause. If you don't know why we are using where and not having, again refer to the previous videos. So I'll use having count student class ID greater than 1, as simple as that. So where, if we have the student class ID of a particular student greater than 1, that means that that particular student has taken classes more than once in the same day, right? As simple as that. Now, the next part of a question is to group by student details and classes, right? So I'm going to add that here because we need to group by first before writing the final clause. So I'll group by. This is just, writing the question in the form of a query. So you can just directly write that. So I'm from student details, I'm going to take group by student ID. Then I am going to group by name, s dot name. Then we have class ID, because these are the fields that will help us group our entire table according to the requirement. So these are the four parameters that I'm using to group by. And then having count a student class ID greater than 1, and the last part of our question is to arrange them from recent class date to oldest class date. So you got it here. Whenever we need to sort our data, we use the order by clause, right? So at the end, I am just going to end this with our order by clause, and obviously we are going to order this by the class date, but in descending order. Why? It will sort it in ascending order, but as we need it from recent class date to oldest class date, we are going to sort it by descending order. So this is all in all our query. Let us break down this once, or maybe let me just run this for you first and then I can show you how we are going to break this down. We have a little error. I had a doubt here. So let us just remove this only and see if we get it. Yes, so this is our table. This is the final table that we got. So we have three students who took classes more than once in the same day. So if you see, we have got the student ID. We have student ID 1, 3 and 4. We got the names. We got the class IDs in which the classes which have been attended more than once in a day. Then we have the dates also, and we have the count also. So Sarah attended 3 classes in a day. Tiksha attended 2 classes, and so did Nipun, right? So this is what we needed to find, and we have got absolutely correct answer. Now just to summarize, I'm just breaking down this entire query for you. What we have done is take the first part to find list of students who took classes more than once in the same day. So I'm selecting the columns, then I'm counting student class ID, because that is what will lead me to the student ID and then to the class date, right? Then I am joining both the tables on the student ID clause, student ID column. I'm joining upon that because it is the column primary key that we have. Then I'm going to group by, as it is said, group by student details and classes. So I have grouped by student ID, name, class ID and class date, having the count where the student class ID is greater than 1, and then I have ordered by the class date. So you need to break down your question and then write the queries according to that. So this is one of the questions which has been asked in a lot of interview questions. What they do is that they just change the data set. So for example, here we got student and you got the classes they have attended. It could be in the form of like to find out how many uh, products were bought in one day, or how many same products were bought in one day, or it could be anything, just like finding out that how many interns took the training classes or something like that. They're just going to modulate the question a bit, and the concept remains the same. So if this basic is clear to you, if you're able to understand how we solve this question, you'll be able to solve any question that you get in your interview. So all you need to do is break down the question, then break down the query and solve it. Alright, so this is it for the video. I hope you were able to understand this question. Keep practicing and have a good day.